I had always imagined my brother Daniel's wedding would be the happiest day of our lives. Growing up, we'd promised to be there for each other no matter what. And now, as he was about to walk down the aisle with his longtime fiancée Claire, I couldn't be prouder. I wore a pale rose dress, simple but elegant, and clutched a bouquet I'd made myself from peonies and white roses, Claire's favorite. My husband Nathan looked handsome in his navy blue suit, though he had been unusually quiet all morning. I chalked it up to nerves, or maybe the awkward tension between him and my family. Ever since our wedding 3 years ago, Nathan had never really blended in with them. Still, I didn't think much of it. Not until we were pulling into the church parking lot. Nathan's hand gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual. He didn't move to get out of the car. "You need to go in without me," he said suddenly, staring straight ahead. I blinked. "What? What are you talking about?" "You need to leave," he repeated. "Right now. In fact, I think you should go home." The words stung like ice water down my back. "What are you saying, Nathan? This is my brother's wedding." "I know, but trust me. You don't want to be here when what I know comes out." My mouth fell open. "What you know?" "Nathan, what the hell is going on?" He finally turned to me. His face was serious, unreadable. "I promised someone I wouldn't say anything, but things have changed. I just... Look, I can't explain it here, not yet. Just leave, please, for your sake." I laughed, except there was no humor in it. "Do you realize how crazy this sounds? I've helped plan this wedding for months. I canceled work, spent hours designing flower arrangements, even sewed Claire's veil when it tore last week. And now you want me to just go home?" Nathan's eyes softened with guilt. "I'm sorry, I didn't want to do this today, but something's about to happen that could wreck your entire family." I stared at him, heartbeat pounding. "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm trying to protect you." Something in his tone, raw, urgent, made me hesitate. I knew Nathan well enough to sense he wasn't bluffing, but it didn't make sense. Not now, not today. I opened the door anyway. "I'm going inside. If there's something I need to know, then tell me now. Otherwise, I won't let you ruin this day." Nathan didn't follow me. I walked into the church on shaky legs, wondering if I'd just made a mistake I couldn't take back. The sanctuary was glowing with late morning sunlight. Candles flickered down the aisle, and soft violin music floated through the air like a lullaby. Guests were filing into the pews, dressed in pastel gowns and dark suits, chatting in hushed excitement. But I barely noticed any of it. I kept glancing over my shoulder toward the door, half expecting Nathan to storm in. My heart was still racing from what he'd said in the car. Something's going to happen. Something that could wreck your family. What did he mean by that? I spotted my mother near the altar, fluttering around Claire with tissues and lipstick. Claire looked radiant in her lace gown, nervously tugging at the hem as the photographer clicked away. I waved, forcing a smile. She beamed at me, mouthing, "You look beautiful." I nodded and took my seat near the front. As I sat down, my cousin Leanne leaned in. "Where's Nathan?" she whispered. "He's not feeling well," I lied quickly. She raised an eyebrow. "Really? Looked fine earlier. Didn't he pick up Daniel's cufflinks?" I blinked. "He what?" "Yeah, Claire said Nathan picked them up from the jeweler yesterday. Said it was a huge favor." That wasn't true. At least, not that I knew of. I turned my head slightly, processing the new information. If Nathan had seen Claire or Daniel yesterday, why wouldn't he tell me? What did cufflinks have to do with whatever secret he was hiding? Then I remembered something else. Nathan had been taking long phone calls this past week, leaving the room, lowering his voice, even stepping outside at night. I'd chalked it up to work. But what if it wasn't? No. Stop it, I told myself. Don't ruin this day with suspicion. The music swelled. The doors opened. My father appeared with Claire on his arm, and the guests rose to their feet. Claire looked breathtaking, every step measured, her smile trembling with joy. Daniel stood at the altar, eyes locked on her. But was that hesitation I saw flicker across his face? No, surely not. I was imagining it. The ceremony began, filled with laughter and touching vows. It was beautiful, perfect even. But under it all, I felt like I was sitting on a ticking time bomb. And then it happened. Just as the priest announced, if anyone knows a reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, a sharp voice rang out from the back. I do! Gasps echoed around the room. I turned in my seat, my heart sinking. It was Nathan. He stood at the doors, his face pale but steady. He walked down the aisle slowly, every step echoing in the stunned silence. Claire's bouquet fell from her hands. Daniel looked frozen. Nathan! I hissed under my breath. What are you doing? I'm sorry, he said, looking at the priest, then Daniel. But this wedding can't go on, not until the truth comes out. Claire's eyes widened in horror. You promised, she began, then stopped herself. That one sentence hung in the air like smoke. The guests were murmuring now, twisting in their seats, unsure if this was a joke. Nathan turned to the crowd. 2 weeks ago, Claire came to my office, alone. She told me something I couldn't believe at first. Daniel's fists clenched. Nathan, stop! Not here! She told me she was having second thoughts because she was still in love with someone else. More gasps. Someone dropped a glass in the back. My mother's face went ghost white. Nathan looked at me. I didn't know what to do, he said. I didn't want to ruin this for you, Ellie, but I couldn't stand here and watch your brother get betrayed. Claire was crying now, her mascara running. It's not what you think. Then tell them, Nathan said softly. Tell them who it is. And then Claire said it. I'm in love with someone in this room. All eyes turned. My skin prickled. I couldn't breathe. Claire's gaze landed on someone I hadn't even considered. My cousin Leanne's husband. The room exploded in chaos. Time stopped. You hear stories about dramatic wedding interruptions, but nothing prepares you for living one. Claire's confession didn't just set off a bomb. It incinerated everything in its path. My cousin Leanne's mouth dropped open, as if her lungs had forgotten how to breathe. Her husband, Greg, sat frozen like a marble statue, face drained of blood. Daniel stood at the altar, completely still, staring at Claire like she had just turned into a stranger. The silence was deafening, and then came the first sound. A slap. Leanne's palm connected with Greg's cheek so loudly it echoed across the pews. He didn't even flinch. You sick coward, she whispered through clenched teeth. You swore on our son's life. Greg couldn't meet her eyes. Leanne, No, she snapped. Don't you dare talk to me. Claire stepped forward, her voice trembling. It started last year. I didn't plan for it to happen. It just... Oh, shut up! My mother roared, standing to her feet. You have the nerve to humiliate my son like this? In a church? In front of family? Daniel looked like he was sleepwalking, eyes flicking between his bride and his cousin-in-law. Why? Was all he could say. Why Greg? I don't know, Claire said, sobbing now. He listened to me. He understood me. You were always so distracted, so busy with work, with planning, with your family. And Greg, he was there. Leanne barked out a bitter laugh. Of course. Greg's a professional listener. That's what cheaters do best. I sat paralyzed in my seat, my brain trying to string all of this together. Nathan had known. He tried to stop me from coming inside, and I didn't listen. Nathan walked slowly toward me, avoiding eye contact with anyone else. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I didn't want to be the one to do this, but I also couldn't stand by and let Daniel's life become a lie. I looked at him with a mixture of shock and disbelief. How long have you known? 3 weeks, he said. Claire came to my office after she got cold feet. She said she needed someone to talk to. I was just supposed to listen, but she confessed everything. I blinked hard. Why didn't you tell me? Because she begged me not to, he said. She said she would end it. that it was just a moment of weakness. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, until yesterday. What happened yesterday? I whispered. She showed up again, Nathan said, eyes flicking toward Claire. Crying, saying she couldn't go through with the wedding. She told me Greg had promised to leave Leanne, but now he wouldn't. She felt trapped. She asked me to stop the wedding, if she couldn't. I covered my mouth, nausea rolling through me. And you just waited until now? Nathan nodded grimly. She didn't answer my calls this morning. I figured she was going to go through with it, and I couldn't let Daniel walk into that kind of betrayal. I stared at the chaos unraveling around me. Claire on her knees, Leanne storming out, Greg trying to follow her, and my brother, just staring into the distance like his soul had left his body. Nathan, I whispered, you should have told me. He looked down. I didn't want to put you in that position, not with your family. But maybe I should have. I just didn't know who I could trust. The priest cleared his throat, his face caught somewhere between pity and horror. I think we need to pause the ceremony, he said softly. You think? Daniel finally spoke, his voice hoarse. This wedding's over. Everybody, just go home. Then he walked off the altar and out the side door without looking back. The reception hall was still decorated when I arrived an hour later. Dozens of tables draped in ivory linens, centerpieces of lavender and eucalyptus, champagne chilling in silver buckets. It looked like a celebration waiting to happen, except there was nothing left to celebrate. Half the guests had already left, others stood in uncomfortable clusters, whispering over half-filled flutes of Prosecco. A DJ sat idle at his booth, nervously chewing gum, unsure whether to play music or pack up. I'd come because Daniel texted me, "Meet me at the hall, I don't want to be alone." When I found him, he was sitting on the small stage where the head table was meant to be, jacket off, tie loose, staring into the empty dance floor. He didn't look up when I sat beside him. They left together, he said. Greg and Claire, can you believe that? I didn't answer. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. Guess they really meant the in sickness and health part. Just forgot to wait until the vows. I reached for his hand. I'm so sorry, Daniel. I had no idea. I know, he said, but Nathan did. His voice carried no blame, just quiet resignation. I hesitated. He tried to tell me, outside the church. I didn't understand at the time. I thought he was just being dramatic. Daniel sighed. I don't blame him. He did what no one else had the guts to do. Silence stretched between us, filled only by the clinking of glasses being cleared in the background. He saved me, Daniel said suddenly. It doesn't feel like it yet, but he did. I nodded. He risked everything, even my trust. I guess real love does that, Daniel said. You do the hard thing, even if it means someone hates you for it, because you want to protect them. His words lingered. I had spent the last few hours drowning in secondhand shame, trying to make sense of the day and resenting Nathan for dragging us into chaos. But maybe I had it backwards. Nathan hadn't dragged us into anything. He pulled us out of a sinking ship before it could fully submerge. As if summoned by thought, Nathan entered the hall, eyes scanning until he saw us. I wasn't sure I should come in, he said. Daniel stood and crossed the room toward him. For a split second, I feared there might be a punch, a yell, anything. But instead, Daniel reached out and hugged him. A hard, tight, grateful hug. Thank you, he murmured. Nathan stiffened, then relaxed. I wish there had been another way, he said. There wasn't, Daniel replied. Better a mess now than a nightmare later. The three of us sat for another hour, not saying much. Sometimes the silence says what words can't. Eventually, Daniel said he was heading to Mom and Dad's to talk, to explain, to mourn. As he left, Nathan turned to me, waiting, unsure of what I would say. I'm not mad, I said softly. Not anymore. He looked surprised. You're not? I shook my head. You tried to protect me from the fallout. I just wish I'd trusted you more. I should have told you everything sooner, he said. I just didn't want to hurt you. You didn't, I said. You saved my brother. Nathan took my hand. So, we're okay? I nodded. We're okay. The following weeks were filled with fragments of canceled honeymoon reservations, fragments of half-paid catering bills, fragments of wedding gifts delivered to a couple that no longer existed. The reality of what happened at the church spread through our family like wildfire, retold, reinterpreted, and relived from every angle. Some relatives blamed Claire, some blamed Greg, others whispered about Nathan. But I knew the truth. He didn't destroy the wedding. He exposed the lie it was built on. Daniel moved into a small rental across town. My parents tried to pretend everything was normal, but the lines around their eyes had deepened overnight. My mother threw herself into gardening. My dad went silent in a way I'd never seen before. At night, I would lie awake next to Nathan, staring at the ceiling, wondering how different things might have been if no one had spoken up. Would Claire have kept the secret forever? Would Greg have pretended to be nothing more than family? And would Daniel have spent his life married to someone who loved someone else? I've been thinking, Nathan said one night, his hand brushing mine beneath the sheets, about what it means to keep a secret. I turned to look at him. Yeah? I used to think it was about protecting people, letting them keep their illusions. But now I think, maybe real love means trusting people with the truth, even if it hurts. I didn't reply right away, because in my heart I knew he was right. And yet, not everyone agreed. Leanne moved out 2 days after the wedding and took their son with her. She filed for divorce within a week. Greg tried to contact her, tried to beg, plead, explain. But the damage had been done. Claire? No one saw her again after the wedding. Not in our town, anyway. Her parents told us she moved to California. She needs to heal, her mother told me on the phone. Daniel never spoke her name again. And as for Nathan, the initial awkwardness around the family started to fade. Slowly. At first, they looked at him like he was the wrecking ball. But eventually, they started to realize he'd only knocked down what was already crumbling. One evening, I caught my dad sitting with him in the backyard, sipping beers under the patio lights. Never liked the girl, Dad grumbled. Too much lipstick, too little loyalty. Nathan just nodded. I didn't want to embarrass Daniel, or the family. You didn't, Dad said. You saved him. It took me weeks to stop carrying the tension in my chest. Even longer to stop blaming myself for not seeing the signs. But grief has strange phases. Denial, anger, relief, even gratitude. We went through them all. And life, stubborn as ever, kept moving forward. The next time I saw my brother in a suit, it was spring, 6 months after the wedding that never was. But this time, it wasn't for a ceremony. It was for a walk along the coast. We'd planned to meet at our childhood beach, the one where we used to build sandcastles and chase crabs before we knew anything about betrayal, lies, or heartbreak. He sat on the dunes, the ocean breeze tugging at his hair, his face calm in a way I hadn't seen in months. I walked up quietly, blanket under one arm, a thermos of coffee in the other. He looked up and gave me a small smile. You brought the good stuff? Extra cinnamon, I said, handing it to him. We sat in silence, listening to the waves crash like slow, steady breathing. Seagulls called overhead, but the world felt peaceful, suspended. I used to dream about that wedding, you know, Daniel said, not looking at me. Us dancing, Mom crying, Claire and White laughing at my terrible vows. I remember, I said gently. I kept thinking, if I'd been better, more romantic, less caught up in work, maybe she wouldn't have drifted. I turned toward him. Don't do that. Don't carry her choice like it was your burden. His throat bobbed. It's just hard, letting go of someone who didn't let go of you first. I reached over and squeezed his hand. She let go long before you saw it. You just had the courage to catch the truth midair. He gave a choked laugh, eyes glassy. Nathan was brave. He was terrified, I said. But he did it anyway. We sat in silence again, sipping warm coffee against the sea air. I could feel a change in the wind, not just in weather, but in the space between grief and healing. Did you ever get closure? I asked after a while. Daniel nodded slowly. She sent a letter, didn't apologize exactly, but said she was sorry for not being stronger, said Greg ghosted her after they left. Took off the next day. She's in San Diego now, working at a bookstore. Do you miss her? He was quiet for a long moment. I miss the idea of her, the version I thought I was marrying, but I don't miss the lie. I exhaled, emotion catching in my chest. I'm proud of you, Daniel. He looked at me, eyes wet. You know, in some strange way, I think Nathan saved both of us. I smiled. I know. He turned back toward the ocean. I want to believe love's still out there, that this didn't break me. It didn't, I whispered. You're not broken, just battle-tested. He laughed softly. Think I'll ever walk down the aisle for real? When you meet someone who wouldn't dare lie to you, I said, when she looks at you like you're her home, not her backup plan. He nodded. Then I'll wait. We sat there until the sun dipped low, painting the sky with streaks of lavender and gold, like a brand new beginning. And as we walked back to our cars, sand between our shoes, I realized something. The wedding didn't destroy us, it revealed us. Daniel became stronger. My family learned how to be honest. And Nathan, my husband, the man who stood against everyone for the sake of truth, became someone I trusted more than ever. Sometimes the truth breaks things, but sometimes it's the only way to rebuild. If this story resonates with you, hit the like button and leave your story in the comments section. And of course, subscribe to my channel for more real, raw, and ridiculous stories. Your support means everything to this channel.